The summer of 1863 was a pivotal moment in American history. On the rolling hills and fields of Pennsylvania, two massive armies met in what would become the largest and bloodiest battle of the American Civil War. Over 3 fateful days, the Battle of Gettysburg turned the tide of the war. But how did this battle unfold? Why was it so significant? And what did it mean for the future of the United States? Let's explore the story of the Battle of Gettysburg, the turning point of the Civil War. Prelude to the battle. In the summer of 1863, the Confederate Army, led by General Robert E. Lee, was riding high after a string of victories. Lee had won major battles at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville, and now he had his sights set on an audacious goal: invading the North. By taking the fight into Union territory, Lee hoped to relieve pressure on the war-torn South, gain supplies, and perhaps even force the Union to negotiate peace. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia began moving northward, crossing into Pennsylvania in late June 1863. The Union Army of the Potomac, commanded by General George Meade, followed in pursuit. Both armies were converging on a small town that few would have thought could decide the fate of the nation, Gettysburg. Day 1, the engagement begins. On July 1, 1863, Confederate forces, led by General Henry Heth, entered Gettysburg in search of supplies. However, they unexpectedly encountered Union cavalry, commanded by General John Buford. A fierce skirmish erupted on the outskirts of the town. Buford's men, though outnumbered, held their ground and delayed the Confederate advance long enough for Union reinforcements to arrive. As the day progressed, more and more troops poured into Gettysburg. By the afternoon, both armies were fully engaged, and the fighting became intense. Union forces took up defensive positions on Cemetery Hill, while the Confederates pushed hard to drive them back. By the end of the day, the Union Army had been forced to retreat through the town, but they had managed to hold the high ground, a crucial factor for the battle's outcome. Day 2, the fight for the flanks. On July 2, the battle entered its second day, and General Lee launched a series of attacks on both Union flanks. His goal was to dislodge the Union Army from its strong defensive positions. The Union line formed a fishhook shape, with Cemetery Hill and Cemetery Ridge at the center, and the flanks anchored at Culp's Hill on the right and Little Round Top on the left. Lee ordered General James Longstreet to lead an assault on the Union left, hoping to break through and roll up the Union line. The fighting on Little Round Top became one of the most famous moments of the entire battle. Union Colonel Joshua Chamberlain and his 23rd Maine Regiment held the extreme left of the Union line. Despite being outnumbered and running low on ammunition, Chamberlain ordered a desperate bayonet charge, which successfully repelled the Confederate assault and saved the Union flank. At the same time, Confederate forces also attacked the Union right at Culp's Hill and the center at Cemetery Ridge. But by the end of the day, the Union Army still held its ground, and Lee's attempts to break through had failed. Day 3, Pickett's charge. The final day of the battle, July 3, would see the most infamous and tragic event of the entire conflict: Pickett's charge. Believing that the Union center was weak, General Lee decided to launch a direct assault on Cemetery Ridge, the heart of the Union line. It was a risky and bold move, one that would prove to be a disastrous miscalculation. Lee ordered General George Pickett to lead 12,000 Confederate soldiers in a mile-long march across open fields, directly into the teeth of Union artillery and rifle fire. As Pickett's men advanced, they were met with devastating cannon fire. Despite their bravery, the Confederate soldiers were mowed down in droves. Only a small fraction reached the Union lines, and they were quickly repelled. Pickett's charge was a complete failure, resulting in massive Confederate casualties. By the end of the third day, Lee's army was forced to retreat, and the Battle of Gettysburg was over. Aftermath and significance. The Battle of Gettysburg was the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, with over 50,000 casualties killed, wounded, or missing. The Union victory at Gettysburg was a turning point in the war. It halted Lee's invasion of the North and shattered the myth of Confederate invincibility. For the Confederacy, Gettysburg was a devastating blow. Lee's army, once seen as unstoppable, was now on the defensive, and the hope of foreign intervention was lost. For the Union, the victory at Gettysburg, along with the fall of Vicksburg in the West, marked the beginning of a long, hard road toward eventual victory.